guys, Dave Duford here at Duford Insurance Group, where I train agents to become top producers. And what you're about to watch is a sample of my live Zoom conference calls that I do daily, Monday through Friday, for agents that work in my agency. As of 2021, we do 14 hours of group live training sessions every week, Monday through Friday. And if this is your kind of thing and you like what you see, this is a good idea of what to expect if you join my insurance agency. So check out this training. If you'd like to learn more about joining Duford Insurance Group, click the links above and below. All right, so we are good. So we are going to work through the script with Doug. If you don't have a preference, Doug, then we'll kind of start from the beginning.
That would be, yeah, that's what I'd like to go over.
And here's how I'm going to organize this. And by the way, is there anybody else that wants to go? And this is to be the only time I'm going to ask. So if you want to practice your script after Doug, I need to know now. Is there anybody that wants to go? All right, Deborah, perfect. Okay. So what we're going to do, Doug, is, and Deborah, so you'll go after Doug. We'll probably get through just the first phase, maybe the second phase. Okay, Doug? And then you can pop on again this week, and then we can practice whatever else we left off. But either way, the most important part to nail and get right is the opening to this entire sales presentation. So it's worth spending time here if this is all we get to. Does that make sense?
Good.
Okay. So are you doing outbound calls, or are you going to be doing TV leads?
Outbound.
Outbound. Okay, perfect. By the way, guys, just a quick promo for the TV leads before I forget. I got the numbers back for total production and conversion rates. We did around 300 and some odd TV leads and converted about 23.8% of the live TV transfer leads. So that's 1 out of 4 made sales off of those leads. And the average case size was 1,070 AP. So pretty darn good, if you ask me. If you're interested in more in those, just let me know. There's something we can definitely tie in. We've got more leads than we have agents to handle them. So it's always a good thing. Okay, Doug, you can ring me up, and then we'll start the process.
Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hello, is this David?
It is.
Good morning, Mr. David. This is Doug Surgis from Douglas Insurance. I'm responding back to you about the information you requested on Facebook regarding the state-regulated final expense programs.
Yeah, okay.
In response to the security question you asked, you said your favorite hobby was fishing. Is that correct?
That it is. Certainly love it.
Well, perfect. What kind of fishing do you do?
Well, so I live down here in Tennessee, and we do, there's some pretty big lakes down here, Chickamauga Lake, and then Big Saudi Lake, and there's a lot of bass, some of the best bass fishings around here. So it's pretty much all I do, just some bass.
That's a beautiful part of the state. I've motorcycled through there a lot, and the lakes are unbelievable.
Oh yeah, it's nice when it's not cold like it is right now. It's like freezing. It's crazy. Yeah. Too much. Need my warm weather back. Can't wait for spring.
Yeah. Well, perfect. First and foremost, I'm a licensed insurance agent in your state. It's my job to deliver information to you about these programs you requested. But before any of that, how's your day going so far?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. Can't complain early, but otherwise, so far, so good.
Yeah, you said it's a little cold out there right now?
It is. It's like below freezing.
Wow. Is that unusual for down there?
You know, it's you get about a month of it here, and then it's back into the 50s and 60s and tolerable. I used to live up in Boston for a couple of years, and dear God, never again. 4 feet of snow before Thanksgiving? I don't think so.
Yeah, it's cold up there. All right. Well, please tell me, how are you doing with the COVID-19 outbreak?
Fine. You know, our family's safe and sound. We're blessed. I'm thankful for that. Yeah. Otherwise, doing what everybody pretty much is doing.
Yeah. Do you have any kids nearby?
Yeah, they live in town. We live in Chattanooga. They live around, so they're not too far by to help out if I need anything.
They are able to help you out, take care of stuff, and get stuff from the store.
Yeah. I'm not that old yet, thankfully. So, but they can help if it need to be.
Oh, great. All right. Now, did you grow up in Tennessee?
Yeah, we moved down here in the 80s and pretty much just been here for my whole life.
All right. Well, that's great. Now, are you working or are you retired?
I'm retired.
Well, congratulations.
Nah,
That, so it's not all what it's packed up to be?
not really. It's extremely boring. There's nothing to do. You just sit around, and now with this COVID thing, you really sit around. You know, I'd wish I was working again, man. I miss it.
Yeah. Well, you could get a little part-time job somewhere, keep you busy.
Yeah, maybe go greet some Walmart people, you know, or help in the Home Depot aisles.
Yeah. So before you retired, what was your occupation?
What did I do? It's been so long. I worked in a mill here locally. We made underwear.
Well, did you get free samples?
yeah. All I could take. never had too little underwears. That's for sure.
Okay. I bet you got some good underwear jokes.
Yeah, but I'm a decent man, so I'll save them for you.
You'll pass on those for now? Okay. Well, when you were not locked up in the house, what did you do for fun?
Fishing. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
But we can still pretty much do all right. You know, you don't have to wear a mask out in the lake yet.
Right. Yeah, I did a lot of bass fishing when I was younger, and really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And, we vacationed down in Southern Virginia on Smith Mountain Lake and did a lot of striper fishing now.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Is that what do you call that when you have the big rod and what is that called? Fly fishing. Is that what that is?
No, it was there's 3 or 4 different types of fishing to get the stripers, but one of them was throwing bucktails, so you were casting for them.
Okay. Cool.
It was a lot of fun. All right. So now you've told me a little bit about yourself. Let me tell you about who I am and what I do. As I said earlier, my name is Doug Surgis, and I'm an independent licensed insurance agent in the state of Virginia. My license number is W710973. And just to let you know, I'm texting over my business card to you so you can have my contact and license information on hand.
Okay, sure.
So what I do is help people 50 years and older obtain affordable life expense coverage to pay for their burial or cremation costs. I've been in life insurance business since 2019. And one of the reasons my clients do business with me is because I'm a senior benefits advocate. Now, what that means is I do not represent insurance companies. I represent senior citizens. My expertise is in final expenses. And instead of selling for an individual life insurance company, I have access to all the life insurance companies. I shop all the companies to get you not only the best price, but the best value and coverage. Basically, I get my clients the best value for their money. That's it.
Okay. Let's pause there for a moment, Doug. So, audience, how do we think Doug did with rapport building? Understand this is Doug's first round at it. Doug, how do we think Doug did? Deborah says, great job. Let's see what else here. Okay. Anybody else? Any comments? Alex says he liked it. Any thoughts of what we could improve? Anything where we may have missed or anything like that? So a couple of things I liked. First of all, when you got Facebook leads, you've got typically a favorite hobby. Go right into that. You know, you did that perfectly. So where do you fish? What kind do you fish? Like, that's a dead giveaway. If they're telling you what your favorite hobby is, you know, you use that. It's a valuable piece of information that starts a natural rapport building conversation. And Doug did that perfectly, seamlessly even. So no issues, no problems whatsoever there. Did we do enough rapport building? Or did we do too much rapport building? Did anybody feel like it was too much? Bill?
Yeah, I can't read the chats because for some technical reasons, so I don't know if people are saying this, but I thought he picked up on something good to talk about, and then he kind of did a little bit of rapid topic change. Maybe he's kind of just hitting a list of things to talk about. But I mean, if you find something good to talk about, don't you kind of like stay on there, maybe tangent on that a little bit, but not like change the subject?
Yeah, good point. Let me elaborate on this. Yeah, so we teach you guys as a new agent, just go through the rapport building questions. Just get used to asking the questions. The fact that you ask the questions repetitively in a list-like fashion as a new agent will burn into your mind always to ask those questions. What you will ultimately get to sooner or later, sometimes this happens pretty naturally, pretty quickly, is that you won't ask all the questions. Why? Because you don't need to. Because you know that rapport building, ultimately the goal is to break the ice and get somebody comfortable with you. Okay. And being a new agent, this is what I instruct you to do. So it may sound a little bit unusual or awkward, especially when one has done a good job up to that point with rapport building. For some people, rapport building is unnatural, like to intentionally try to go through this stuff. So we want to train your mind to remember and think this stuff. And then ultimately, though, you're not going to need to look at the script, which Doug was doing, which is fine. You can go off of memory, but more importantly, like what you're suggesting, Bill, is that you can react to what the environment is giving you, right? You can think on your feet better because you've got the stuff memorized in a sense, and you can pull from your memory stuff to ask while intently listening. Like you did notice that Doug went into the fishing stuff with a striper fish or whatever he said. That was good. Little back and forth sharing on how fishing goes. And I would have liked to see a little bit more in depth there. It was good enough for me though on the first run, but you're right in the sense that what we're trying to do is find some common ground, just some common ground so that they know that we're a person, a real human being. We're not there to just rip them off. Right. So to me, we accomplished that. And I would argue as anybody gets up and running, a lot of these questions Doug asked, he doesn't necessarily need to because we've established rapport. I mean, I felt like we established rapport, maybe halfway through the talk there. I don't know if you guys disagree, but we had a good interchange there. Doug was asking all the questions, getting me to respond. I was having fun talking about whatever I was talking about. It was a good interchange. But does that make sense? I'm kind of droning on about this a little bit, Bill. But what Doug did was right. And ultimately, though, like Doug, first time, right? Doug just got started. This is his first reading of this. What you may do, Bill, may be completely different just because you're kind of running off of intuition and instinct. Does that make sense? Because you've done this a number of times, which is fine. Okay. All right. Introduction there. Everybody like the introduction? Any critiques of the introduction at all? Anything we missed the boat on? It was a little bit reworded differently, but I don't really have a problem with it. I mean, the fundamentals are there. Who are you? Why are you there? And why should they care? Right? I think we accomplished all that. I'm a broker. I represent technically, and you kind of clarified this a little, Doug, and this is just me nitpicking because I can't really find some major thing to fix. Technically, you do represent the insurance company. You're an agent of the company. I get what you're saying is you can say what I do is I represent you. I represent the companies, but my real goal is to represent my clients because what I do instead of pushing one company to shop around. So again, I'm just being nitpicky. You don't have to necessarily change that. I get what you're saying. And you did clarify that you sell for the insurance company. So it wasn't like you're, making it out like you weren't an agent, right? That's my only thing. That beyond that, I mean, everything sounded really good. Going for Doug, go ahead. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I just took it off mute in case you asked a question.
Yeah, sure. Going forward, what would I change? I mean, this is great. This is like, I would give this a solid 4 to 4.5 out of 5. There's nothing major here. It's good enough. The goal is to be good enough in this business. I think this is plenty fine. The only thing maybe I would, again, this will come with time. Some of these questions you didn't have to ask because you established enough rapport, maybe you didn't have to ask about the COVID thing, right? Maybe you went a little deeper with the fishing stuff, but you did fine. I mean, but that's again, nitpicky here. I mean, if this is your normal process, I would be like, there's nothing here really that's problematic. Do you have any questions or comments on any of that?
No, but that does make it, it's a good tip about if you got the rapport going, you don't need to keep going with the questions. And that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's just when do you establish it? It's something that you just develop an instinct for. Like you kind of know when you've hit it off with somebody and you kind of got a connection. And that's at that point you realize that that's when you pivot over. You don't have to do any more reading through the rote questions anymore. You can just go right into the sale. And that may take you a couple of minutes. It may take 2 minutes. It may take 5 minutes. It just, who knows, and that's kind of the hard thing about rapport is it's not like stage 3 or even stage 2 where you go down a list of questions that you do every time. This is kind of just a feel thing. Hal says, what do you do if the client says they want the insurance info? Hal, do you want to role play that?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm just so for me, just to kind of, I guess, share a little bit. That seemed like a lot of rapport building.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and it's how much would you have to do with somebody from New Jersey? I don't know, probably less, right?
Right.
So it's going to be regional. It's very subjective is really the key word. And you just have to develop an instinct and an understanding. And the only way you really do that is by doing enough of it. But you should intentionally try to, because you have to differentiate yourself from the other telemarketers. Like my mom told me yesterday, she's turning 64 or 65 in June. And she's like, I get 15 to 20 calls a day constantly. And likely the way telemarketers open the call is not in the manner in which we do, which is not a kind of a relationship-oriented approach. So this is a way that we differentiate ourselves. So this is what you have to remember. Your clients are constantly getting dialed for this stuff. So you just got to differentiate.
I guess just in general, I would agree and proceed with the script.
Yeah. So regarding if they want, what do they want? Like, can you just give me a quote?
Well, it's, yeah, that's great. But, I'm doing the TV lead. So I saw the commercial. I was just calling to get a quote.
Yeah. So you do let's do the role play. You act as if you're taking a phone call. I'll act like the client, and then we'll do a couple of variations of this. And then Deborah, I'll get you in after this, where I'll say something like, I just want the information, the quote, and I want to hear how you handle it. And then we'll kind of critique it.
All right. So am I starting from the beginning or?
Yeah. So I'm going to say ring, ring. And then you just start however you would. So ring, ring.
This is Hal Marshall from the Open Care Final Expense Department. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hey, yeah, I'm calling about that commercial about the $30,000 burial insurance plan.
Excellent. I can certainly help you with that. And I didn't catch your first name.
Yeah, my name is David. Yeah, I was just calling
David.
to see if I could get a quote for it.
Sure, absolutely. I'll be able to help you. Listen, just so you know, I'm a licensed insurance agent in your state. And my job is to help you find an affordable policy to pay for your funeral expenses. And I certainly look forward to doing that. Before we get started, David, I'm just curious, how are you faring with the pandemic?
Yeah, so off script. That's perfect. Anybody have any problems with that? Like, you address it as briefly as possible and then get back on script. You just say, perfect. I'll be happy to give you that information, but before we get started, whatever you said, that's what you guys want to do. Seamless. You didn't say, well, hold on now. You didn't do some long dissertation on why you can't give them a quote. You just addressed it and kept going. That's exactly what you want to do. When they say, can you give me a quote? Can you mail me information? Or anything like that detracts you from where you want to go. And remember, for you guys that are like, well, why can't I give them a quote? Or why can't I just send them information? Well, in case there's confusion, first of all, you can't quote anything because you don't know anything about their health, their age, their smoking status, and all their underwriting variables, right? So how can you give an accurate quote? What's the point of giving a quote that probably doesn't make sense because you don't know anything about the client? And then as far as information goes, I mean, what information would you send? 24 carrier brochures, like, come on, it's unreasonable until we know more. So most people who are actually seriously interested, they will listen more and longer, and will continue on because they understand that intuitively, that there's more to it. Most people don't understand the sales process. They don't understand that we got to know this stuff before we can offer them price. That makes sense. Any questions or comments on that, Hal? I mean, it sounded perfect, man. I don't see any problems with that.
All right. Yeah, no, thanks. I guess it's just really getting more comfortable and, staying with the process for me.
Yeah, you sound, I mean, to me, you sound like natural. You sound smooth, relaxed. You don't sound scripted. Otherwise, I mean, everything sounded great.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Send me a recording. Well, let me listen to a whole call. I know you made a couple of calls, and the next one you do.
So that's the thing. I sort of jumped into the TV leads, I think, a little early because I haven't really been working the phone. So I felt like I was rusty, and I ended up getting a lot of, I need to think about it, or I want to talk to my wife, or it's too expensive.
Right. Yeah. And I think, well, I mean, right now that opening sounds perfect. So I'd be interested to hear what else happens.
Right.
So when you're comfortable, I mean, I do these reviews all the time. And I think kind of what we talked about yesterday, I think listening to a call would be absolutely perfect.
Okay.
All right, Al, anything else?
That's it, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Let me try to help. Yeah. Deborah, you up? Are you there? Hello.
I'm here.
Hey, Deborah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, thank you for being willing to do this. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for doing it.
So you're new, right?
Very, yes.
Okay. So we're going to start from the beginning. Are you okay with that?
Sure. Yeah. Sounds good.
Again, just to clarify, you're doing telesales, right? You're going to do a
telesales, right?
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay. Are you doing the Facebook leads or TV leads? What are you thinking?
Facebook.
Okay. So you're going to call me. Okay.
Yes. Ring, ring.
All right. Hello.
David, this is Deborah Dayton reaching out about the information you requested on Facebook about our new state-regulated final expense program. And you said your favorite hobby is bowling. Isn't that right?
That's me.
Awesome. You getting out there these days to bowl? Are the alleys still open near you?
Yeah, some of them are. I mean, they're not all closed. I actually reopened the one locally here maybe a couple months ago. I played a few games.
Okay.
Luckily,
you're not on a league these days? Probably hard, right?
I haven't been on a league in a while. It's been years, really. I just like to play for fun. It just gets me doing something, hanging out with my buddies.
Oh, good. That's so important these days, right?
Right.
Oh, perfect. So first and foremost, I'm a licensed insurance agent here in New Jersey, and it's my job to deliver to you the information you requested about our programs. So how's everything going with your Tuesday so far?
Well, it's early. I'm above ground. Can't complain. A little cold outside. Otherwise, not too bad.
Oh, it sure is. We got a nice coating of snow. So are you still working or you retired?
I'm done with work. That's for sure.
Oh, how's that? Tell me how good it is. That's what I want to hear.
It's good that I'm done, but I have to say I'm bored. Thanks, Hal, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to work where I worked, but I don't want to sit around the house and do nothing either. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. My husband and I are at that age where we're dreaming about retirement. So
yeah. It's a dream. Let me put it that way. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Absolutely. So now that you've told me a little bit about yourself, let me tell you about who I am and what I do. So like I said, my name is Deborah Dayton, and I'm a licensed independent insurance agent here in New Jersey. And David, am I calling you on your cell phone right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm actually going to text you my business card so you have all my credentials and my license information. I'll do that in just a sec. Now, David, I've been in the insurance business in a while now, and what I specialize in is helping people 50 and older to get affordable life insurance to cover costs like final expenses, burial, and cremation costs. And the reason why my clients like doing business with me is because I'm what's known as a broker. And I'm sure you know that means that I'm not married to just one insurance company like Allstate or State Farm, but I represent all the insurance companies and I shop all of them to not just get you the most competitive price, but also the best value of coverage. So basically, I get my clients the best bang for their buck. And just to let you know, I'm texting over that
Okay.
business card now, so you have my credentials on hand, okay?
Okay, so off script here. Comments from the audience? Anybody have some thoughts? Very good job, by the way, Deborah. You can stay unmuted, and I'll kind of give you some critiques here. Bill says, all three have been very personable. I would stay on the phone with. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, the best thing I think about this is your tonality is locked in. Yeah, you sound like you're happy. You sound like you're fun to talk to. The energy levels on point. Keep that going, right? And the opening was great. Okay, I would figure most people who are going to answer the phone are going to be interested in talking to you if you keep that tonality. Okay,
Thank you.
Friendly, energy, enthusiasm. The only thing I would suggest. Okay, let me ask the audience. And I like doing, and by the way, for new guys, I like to engage you guys because, I mean, I like to talk, probably no, but I like getting you guys thinking too, because you need to be thinking about yourself and engaged and thinking, okay, how do I do this? And you need to be thinking kind of in the same way, because you're going to be doing this if you haven't already, and you need to probably experience some of the same things and be aware of them. And getting you to think about this is a good thing, as opposed to just being told. What do we think about the rapport building? Do we think that there was enough of it, or was there just right? Okay, Steve says more. Anybody else have any thoughts on that? Could have been more, but you can need to build on. I believe there's just enough. Nothing about family. Lolly says for New Jersey, it was great.
Yeah.
Just really pushing that hard, man, from New Jersey. Jeez.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you know, to me, I could get that. Like, maybe if you're calling in the Southeast or the Midwest, maybe a little bit more, right? I think there was a missed opportunity. You went like 2 levels deeper on. So I think in terms of rapport building, I think there's like 3 levels that you can go into depth to kind of discover more about the person you're talking to. There's a surface level comment. There's a second layer, and then there's a third layer. I think it's important to think if you touch on something that's an emotional issue, that you should go 3 layers deep. You shouldn't touch on, if I say something just like, it's cold outside, it is what it is. Like, I'm not that concerned about it. But when I say, I'm done with work, like that's clearly an emotional statement. There's a story there, right? So for the purposes of rapport and building kind of a connection with our clients, I think like it's important to pick up on that and go a couple of steps or a couple of levels lower. You did, because I think you said so as you said something about retirement and something else. Mm-hmm. But I think you could have gone a little bit deeper there. I'm trying to think about.
I didn't ask what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I said something like, I hate, I don't want to work where I was, but I'm bored. So there's like this dissonance, right? Like, I don't want to work, but I do want to work. I'd be intrigued to figure out more. And you, ideally, what you'd want to do, is just go a little bit deeper there. So what were you doing that was so bad? Have you thought about doing something else?
That's
just,
good.
Just a little bit more. That's all I would, if there's any critique to the rapport building, that would be it. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you did it adequately enough to have a nice friendly conversation with, but one level lower could have been a little better. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bill says, I thought enough rapport, but probably not with most prospects. Yeah. Now I'm being like, I'm in lay down mode, right? Like easy sale, right? So I'm not trying to push too hard with Deborah or Doug, because this is their first attempt. But if you guys do this again, and you should, I'm going to go a little bit harder. I'm going to give you a little more resistance, because what'll happen with a lot of prospects is you'll get some flatline responses that don't mean much, and you kind of get discouraged. It's like, okay, do I just go to the introduction and kind of bail on the rapport building? But you can't. You got to keep going until you find that one thing where they're showing mild interest or intrigue about, right? So again, I'm always nice the first time. I'm practically begging for you people to come do this. So I got to be nice. So yeah, but that's true. We want to do rapport building and go through kind of the list of questions we have, right? Until we hit on something that is obviously of interest, and then go three layers deep is the idea. Introductions, rock solid, nothing, no problems there. I would grade this again, just like Doug's. This is a solid 4.5, I would say. I mean, it's not, I would say this is just right for the person. Keep in mind, but you'll have people who are cold that you'll have to warm up longer. And so you're going to have to massage them a little bit longer, right? Kind of ask them more questions, listen intently to find the emotion, and then capitalize on it. Does that make sense, Deborah?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that reminds me. One last thing, and this is true for both Deborah and then Doug. We need to make sure we're doing check-in statements, okay? In any long explanation where we're talking a lot, we need to ask, does that make sense? Makes sense, right? Any questions? So like, for example, the introductory phase, if you go back and listen to it, both Deborah and Doug did this. They said everything, but they didn't ask maybe one or two check-in statements to kind of break up the monotony of the explanation. Because again, what you have to understand, guys, is, you know, when you're really selling, it looks like this. Like, you don't see anything. You know, all you do is you hear my voice, and you don't know what I'm doing. I could have Candy Crush, wasting time on Facebook, watching TV in the distance, looking out my window at some random bird. I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff that's happening that you can't see. And so when you talk for a long time, you have to be sensitive that people will start to drone off. We live in this world of, you know, constant notifications, constant distractions that tear us away from any level of focus, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing steps in the talk to draw people back in. Does it make sense? Like, just what I did there makes sense, right? Like, those are things that I'll use, because you guys might start getting bored and stop listening to me. Maybe. I doubt it, but just in case, you know, I say that stuff because it breaks it up a little bit, make sure you're engaged, and it keeps your client on the hook too. So they'll, when they feel the sense that you're going to ask them questions and make sure that they're listening, they'll engage that much more. So make sure you're doing that. Okay.
Thank you.
Good job, Deborah. All right. Now let's go back to Doug. You still there, Doug?
I'm here.
So let's pick back up where you left off. Let's go into the pre-qualification stage. So just like right after you did your intro, let's go right into pre-qualifying me, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Now that you know a little bit about me, I'd like to tell you a bit more about what I do and why I called. The reason I'm calling is because you requested this information on Facebook about our new state-regulated final expense programs. Now, the reason people request information is because they're concerned about the high cost of final expense and want a program to take care of it, so their loved ones don't have to pay for it out of pocket. Does that make sense?
Sure does.
All right. So tell me, what were your thoughts and concerns when you requested this information?
Well, you know, Doug, I'm just not getting any older. I mean, hell, I am getting older. That's the problem, right? I'm just not, I'm at the point where it's something I've been thinking about, but I've never really gotten around to doing. So, you know, it's just time that I take care of this.
Well, that's good. Good thoughts. All right. Have you had any experience dealing with funerals in your family?
I mean, not recently. It's been a number of years since my parents passed away.
All right. Sorry to hear about that. How long ago was that, you think?
Mom died 5 years ago.
Okay.
She was getting up there in age and she passed away. That was the last major funeral, really.
All right. And so you remember that pretty well, what you went through? And
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was tough.
all right. So what happened?
Well, I mean, Mom had cancer and, she had pancreatic cancer and it was all of a sudden, really, it was kind of no, prior notice and she was dead in a week. And, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. I understand. I hear that. Yeah. Well, apparently she didn't have to suffer much.
Yeah, that's true. I remember my grandfather died and he was in intensive care for a month and it was just real sad. He was on a vent and yeah, Mom thankfully didn't have to go through any of that.
Oh, well, that's good. Now, did your mom have burial insurance?
No, she didn't.
Okay. So how did your family handle your mom's burial costs without having insurance?
Yeah, well, I had to pay it. That's what it came down to. I mean, mom had a policy and I found out that she had passed away and, but she didn't have the policy anymore. She let it lapse. And so I was put in a position that I had to, it's my duty. I'm the firstborn. I had to take care of it. And I wasn't going to let her, she didn't want to be cremated. I wanted to show her some dignity and respect and took care of it.
Oh, that's really good. So tell me, how did you feel when you found out your mom wasn't covered?
I didn't like it. I was pretty, in a sense, upset, right? It was her job to keep this thing up. It was, I felt it was her responsibility. But at the same time, Mom had taken care of me and it's only right that I return the favor, right? So
Yeah.
It was a duty of mine I had to do, even if I didn't necessarily agree with the way that she handled it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. So did you have to handle the burden all by yourself or did you get any help from the family?
No, it was all me. My brother's kind of a fly by night. We can't really depend on him for anything. So it was all on me.
Yeah. Let me tell you a quick story. My sister-in-law, Jean, passed from cancer, didn't have insurance. And so Gladys' mom flipped the bill. And then there was 5 other kids and three sons. So she split it up 8 ways and asked everyone to pay that amount. And the kids all ponied up real quick. And one of the sons did, but the others wouldn't give her a dime. And it hurt her so bad. She still talks about it.
Wow.
She even took them out of the will.
Wow. Jeez.
So.
Yeah, no, it's a shame. I mean, I guess that's the thing, I look at it it's my job. It's my duty to my family to provide and take care of them. And so, but I don't want my family to, because of what I went through, I don't want them to have to do this. Right. It's a burden they shouldn't carry. It's my responsibility.
Right.
And yeah.
I mean, it was a burden on you, but you should feel good about the fact that you were able to take care of your mom.
Oh, I do. I certainly do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wish it hadn't have been that way, and I don't think it's my family's job either. It's my job. It's my responsibility.
Yeah. Well, not everyone thinks that way. So I really commend you for that. It's pretty good.
Right, thank you.
All right. How would things have been different if your mom even had half of what you spent on the burial?
I would have made it easier. I mean, I would have done a lot better for sure.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Should I keep going or should I keep going?
Yeah, man, you're doing great.
Okay. All right. Well, what I'd like to do is let me go past there. Do you know, I'm at a loss.
We can stop here. This is good. We can stop here. Okay. So, audience, how do we feel about the rapport building? Steve says good depth. Yeah, good job sharing the story. That was timely and accurately and appropriately timed. That was really good. Very relevant to the situation. And I wish I could put in a story there, but like I don't have a story for like something like that, you know, like a personal story to share. But if you've got one like that, it's really good. You know, what the consequences of not being prepared are, and the pain it causes family relations. Money breaks up so many people's relationships. It's always worth reminding of that, especially with what we're talking about. What did we miss in the rapport building section? A couple of items here, and you kind of, and Doug, I know you're kind of like at a loss, and that's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything was really good up to that point. There's a couple of things we missed, but we'll fill in the blanks here. Flesh that out, Steve. He did ask that right in the beginning, unless you're saying that he worded it differently. Who do I have any existing coverage? Who do I have my existing life insurance coverage with? Do we know? Did you ask that question, Doug?
No, I didn't ask that.
And that would probably be a good next question to ask at this pause. What are you doing for existing life insurance? And perhaps we're thinking, well, didn't he say it's time to do something about this? Sure. But maybe in the prospect's mind, he needs a burial plan, but he's already got a term insurance plan to cover his mortgage or something, right? So sometimes we need to ask this question to seek clarity, because in the mind of our prospect, they may see burial insurance as something entirely different, just like an Apple is different from a computer, right? They just may not make the connection. So we need to help facilitate clarity and make the connection for them. Oh yeah, I've got this life insurance plan, right? Because then that poses all sorts of different avenues too. What if we go into this and something happens where the prospect in the middle of this changes their mind and realizes, oh, I've got life insurance. Do I really need this? Well, you don't know that, and it's hard to address that objection, right? So we want to ask that question all the time.
Yeah, that was if I would have I lost my place because I scrolled after we started talking, and I tried to re-scroll down to it. But that was the next question to ask.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, it's completely fine. Let's see what else here. I mean, what else did we miss? Do you want to be buried or cremated? I mean, these are minor, these are less important issues than the one that you covered. Like what you did is like exemplary. You backed the hearse up against the front porch. You showed that prospect and walked them through what it was like to experience death with his mother, and the feelings that came from it, and the experience and the emotion behind it. You shared a story to, solidify the kind of, situation that he was in or could be in, right? And I think it's completely clear to anybody that was listening, this guy was sold on needing the coverage, and that story that the prospect shared and the the information you shared as well as the story all contributed towards you need and want this. I don't know if anybody would object to that. If you do, let me know. I thought that was rock solid. What would you want your new life insurance plan to do for you? That would be another one they ask. So what do you want this plan to accomplish? And who do we want the beneficiary on the plan to be? That would be another thing. So these would come if you hadn't lost place. And then to summarize, you want at the very end of this section, summarize. So here's what I'm hearing. You want this plan to do this and that. You want it for this reasons, but not this. Does all this make sense? Correct. And then boom, that would have been great. So very good. Excellent job. A couple of things I want to point out here just to remember. What were some hot button words that I said in this conversation? Doug, do you recall kind of the hot button words that I mentioned?
Responsibility.
Yes. What else? Another one. I said responsibility the most, so duty. So why do we care about this? Because this is the words, this is the idea, the concept that you have to use to sell the insurance. As you get, we remember these words as we get an approach to close. You know, look, Mr. Jones, this plan is going to give you total peace of mind, so that this plan accomplishes your responsibility to your family, so that you can take care of them and accomplish your duty. So maybe think through that a little bit more. But we want to use those words as we close, because those words mean a lot to somebody. You know, when somebody says, and it can be anything, and you got to listen to them. They're usually emotional, conceptual words like peace of mind, burden, relieve them of burden, duty. It's my job. It's my responsibility. You need to play to that higher calling to somebody when you hear those words. So just kind of make a mental note of that or write it down. And as you're closing, and this will take practice, but you want to use those words. They're giving you the ammo to close, right? Because now you're speaking their language about duty and responsibility, and thoughtfully reminding them that this is the way that you do that. And they're going to believe in buying that much more when you say that. Does that make sense? What is useful about the pancreatic cancer? That's another kind of not hot button word, but hot button concept. What could we use that point in the conversation for? Right. What happened in what the story? My mom died in a week, right? What can we infer from that? If we didn't see it coming, she diagnosed and God forbid, all of a sudden died. She was healthy one day and then not the next, and then dead, right? Wouldn't that make perfect sense to use in some capacity to sell the reason to buy burial insurance today? Especially if they give you any flack on the flip side. You know, hey, look, you know, I know you need to think about it, but what if your mom thought about it and she got diagnosed the next day? Tomorrow's not promised. You know this. You've been through this. Let's get you approved, so you never have to worry about this, and you can satisfy your responsibility to your family. Who do you want your beneficiary to be? That's kind of how I've been thinking, right? So this is stuff that we want to remember. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because this section, this pre-qualification section, it gives us so much leverage. It's so important to do this. If you don't ask these questions, you're not going to be in a position to just really position this thing in their language with what matters to them. And so we need to be remembering this stuff, keeping notes, keeping track of this. Does it make sense, everybody? Doug, you're doing fantastic, man. Keep it up. And there's no major mistakes at all. I know you kind of got off track, but that's not a mistake necessarily. Very good.
Thank you.
Well, good open-ended questions. And again, guys, if you want an example of what open-ended questioning sounds like, this is the perfect example. And think about how his questions opened up so much emotion for me and my response and the stories and the context. Compare that to asking the yes/no versions of it and how little response that you would get emotionally. This is why I harp on the open-ended stuff so much. Okay. Deborah, you want to go? You got time? Maybe go a little after 10.
Sure.
Okay, so why don't you start at the same spot? And guys, we'll start we've got a telesales call to review like after this is done. So we'll probably start at 10:05, 10:10 for the telesales call. So go ahead, Deborah. You can just pick up where you left off. Thank you.
All right, David. So now that you know a little bit about me, I'd like to tell you more about why I'm calling. So the reason why I'm calling is because of that information that you requested on Facebook about our new state-regulated final expense program. And the reason why people request this information is because they're concerned with the rising cost of final expenses, and they want a program to take care of it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Perfect. So with that being said, can you tell me what your thoughts and concerns were when you requested this information?
Yeah, I'm 70 now and I'm not getting any younger. And yeah, I just wanted to see what this would run. And it's just something I've been thinking about a long time.
Yeah, and can you tell me what's making you think about it?
I mean, nothing in particular, I guess. I saw the ad and, I just figured what the hell and see what it runs and kind of go from there.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense. So now, do you have anything in place currently?
Yes, I do.
And what does that look like?
Yeah, I got a small little life insurance plan. I bought it last year, but not a big one, just a little one.
You remember who that's with?
Lincoln Heritage, I think, is the company. Lincoln National, something like that.
Uh-huh. And is it a term or a whole life?
I'm pretty sure they told me it was a whole life.
Uh-huh. And do you remember how much the face value is?
Something like 4,000 or 5,000, something like that. It wasn't more than 5.
Yeah. Okay, so good. So, and you're thinking that maybe you need a little bit more?
Yeah. I don't think 5,000 is enough to bury me.
And do you have any experience with taking care of somebody else's final expenses?
No, thankfully I never had to. My brother recently died, but he had a policy, but no, we didn't have to pay out of pocket, thank goodness.
Oh, so how was that for your family knowing that everything was taken care of?
Relief. We were glad. I mean, John had cancer for a while and he suffered, and we're not necessarily in good financial shape ourselves. And when we found out he had a policy, it was a big relief. That's for sure.
Yeah, I bet. That was really good of him to take care of his family that way.
Yeah, I agree.
So now tell me, who would be responsible for your burial costs?
I mean, I want to be, I don't want my children to carry the cost.
So if you didn't have something enough in place, your children would have to take care of it then?
I guess, yeah. I got this little plan, so I mean that would pay for some of it, but otherwise, sure.
Yeah, it would have to come out of their pockets.
Yeah, I guess so.
And how do you think they would feel about that, David?
Oh, they wouldn't like it. They wouldn't like it at all. They're not in the best shape financially. They're they're just starting their lives just like all of us did when we were young, and I just, yeah, we wouldn't want them to pay for it for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you're a good dad and you love them a lot because you made this phone call today. So tell me, what do you want your new life insurance program to look like?
Well, for me, it's just to take care of the burial. I'm not out to make them rich, right? I just don't want them to carry the burden, right? So for me, in my mind, it's just enough to, around these parts, and I live in rural Tennessee. It's about 7,000 to bury someone. So I'm just looking for an extra 2,000. I think that's all that's really necessary.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so you said burial or cremation?
Burial. Yeah, we definitely burial.
And you think about 7,000 will do it?
Yeah, the funeral home around the corner here. It's a local one, and they don't rip everybody off like these big city places do. And I think 7,000 is plenty.
Okay, good. All right, so let me just make sure that I understand everything. So you're looking for just enough of a program to cover the burial expenses so you don't have to leave that burden onto your kids, and
Right.
not too much because we don't need to make anybody rich, right?
Yep.
So I'm sure you want a fairly priced program too. Is that right?
Okay. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Are we going on from there?
Yep, off script. Okay, so good job. Jem would buy from you. That's a good sign.
Thank you.
What do we think, guys? Feedback on the pre-qualifying here. Steve says excellent. Way to go from Doug. Very good from Jim. Anybody have any critiques, or am I going to have to be the bad guy?
Well, actually, can I critique a little?
You sure can. I'll let you.
I'm not sure if at this stage to ask you to go get your policy.
Yeah. You can. I would have asked, okay, what are you paying for on this? And maybe get some more information with that. And why don't you go grab the policy? Let's just make sure. Yeah, I'd ask it at some point in there.
Okay.
Bigger problem, potentially. Anybody recognize it? There you go, Tim. Tim's got it. Good job. Could have talked about funeral costs to compare what the customer said. So here's the missing thing here. Right now, what did you set yourself up to sell, Deborah? Now this can change, of course, but what are you most likely going to sell based off of the conversation we had?
A tiny policy.
Exactly. Right. And I intentionally tried to sound convincing to you that I was assured of myself that Jim Bob's funeral home in middle of nowhere, Tennessee, is going to cover it for $7,000, and that I didn't need a cent more. Well, what you have to do, and that may be the case that you need to acknowledge that, but we buy life insurance to cover burial expenses, not just for today's cost, but for tomorrow's. Let's walk through this. What if the funeral home closes? What if it sells off to one of these corporate branded ones like Dignity or whatever it is, and they have a massive price increase? There's stuff like that happens all the time. And not to mention inflation. What if they move away from that place and move to the city, or move in with a kid that lives, in a higher income area where cost of living is higher? These are all kind of things that could happen. This is a variable. What the price is going to cost, we don't know. And we have to at least cast doubt with our prospects that they shouldn't count on prices being a certain amount unless they buy it today, which they're not. So what's the solution? The solution is you should read the part of the script that talks about inflation going up, okay? And the reason we do that is because we're doing what's called price conditioning. What price conditioning does is it gets the client to open their mind to the possibility they may end up paying more. It doesn't force them to pay a higher price or pay for a higher price plan. It just gets them thinking that, maybe I should buy a little more than I think just in case, right? Just opens up their pocketbooks a little bit more. So instead of selling a 2,000 plan, maybe all you get is a 5 or even a 10. But if you add those differences up over the course of a year of production, it's going to be a substantial difference in your income because you've effectively sold the need for something more than today's cost. You've also sold tomorrow's. Does that make sense, Deborah?
It does. I think I'm nervous to jump around script too much.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm not used to it, but I thought in my head, well, rather than argue with him right now, I'll get to that in a few minutes, but maybe it would be better to just jump around.
You should address it at the time that he brings it up. And the thing is, and argue is not, we're not arguing with him. We're just saying, hey, that sounds great. So it's 7,000. I'm going to give you a little information just in case, just so you know kind of what the averages are, just something to think about kind of as we look at some prices here in a minute, and then go into that conversation. Just, hey, I'm just going to give you a little bit more to think about. Sound very nonchalant. It's no big deal, but you need to know this, right? Because that's part of our jobs too, right? Is to educate the client on, inform the client on really what the reality is. And the reality is this stuff costs way more than people think. And when you remind them about inflation, and when they remember when, gas was 10 cents a gallon, and, it'll all kind of like, yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it's something worthy to think about, and they'll appreciate you because you've told them something that they didn't quite think through. And people don't think that way. They're not always thinking about they think about what prices used to be. What they don't think about it, what is it going to be in 20 years? And they don't understand, if you just look at the average rate of inflation for cremation or burials, it's going to double in 20 years if it just stays the same that it's historically been on average for the last 100 years, right? So it's always worth going through that. If anything, just to let them know.
Okay.
Tonality. Did you guys notice a shift slightly in tonality? In a good way? I was paying attention to this in the beginning, And I think we got there. So what I mean by that is you do want to shift your tone from the opening to when you get to the section. You don't want to do the whole high enthusiasm bit when you're talking about dying and loved ones passing away and the emotions. And I think you shifted your energy appropriately, Deborah, your tone appropriately. I stopped thinking about it when I was trying to answer your questions and thinking about the answers there. But note that when you get to the section, you should shift your tonality to be a little bit more somber, a little bit more reflective. You should have energy, you should have enthusiasm, but you need to tone it down a little bit. And this isn't you personally, Deborah, it's just everybody, just something to think about. We're now talking about serious stuff, death. We're talking about pain and emotion. You know, this is not a happy talk. So don't have your emotion or your tonality reflect that. You know, be somber, be respectful, solemn, right? And make sure you reflect that. You know, lower your voice a little bit, you know, that kind of thing. So, but I think you did that fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't really get into this, but for me, I'm not going to sell against Lincoln Heritage yet. Just remember that, guys. What we're doing in this section is simply just asking what they have for existing coverage. Who do you have? How much do you have? Why did you get it? What did you want to accomplish with that? And we're going to come back to that later on when we make our offer. Hey, look, we can add, you said you wanted enough to bury you. Well, I can get you $5,000 for $30 a month. You're paying, you know, $50 for $5,000, or I can get you $10,000 for $60 a month, and you can cancel your Lincoln Heritage. And actually what that comes down to is $10 more a month for double the coverage. So I kind of wait to the end to pitch against them. Okay. Just because after I've built value and explained things and have gotten all the facts, I kind of wait to the very end. So we're just, again, gathering facts. Where do they stand? What are the deals? We're not going to try to sell them on buying from us yet. We're just wanting to see what we're up against. Karen, I don't think she asked if he was married. So we don't pitch when the spouse isn't there. I mean, we pitch anytime we get somebody on the phone, right? So we're not trying to call back later if the spouse isn't there. We're trying to sell them now, so then they go back and tell their spouse what they did, and because it's just so hard to get people on the phone. So yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish there. All right. Otherwise, excellent job, Deborah. You got any questions, comments there?
No, I think it's just getting a little tougher with coming back with my information and educating them, you know.
Yeah.
Not thinking I'm going to piss somebody off.
No, not at all. I mean, see, what's nice about what we do here, this is how I think our strategy works, is there is a cumulative effect of positivity that we've built. And the things in which we would think on their own in a vacuum, we would ask that would piss them off. What we kind of sometimes forget is we've built a lot of rapport and we built a lot of clout that let us ask these questions, which we may sense normally without the context would make someone mad, but actually are never received that way. So yeah, you don't worry about asking those questions. And many times it's not the question itself that's a problem. If it is, it's how you ask it. You know, it's like, okay, how can I ask this without seeming argumentative? You know, you say, hey, I understand 7,000 would do the job. It sounds like it would. Let me tell you a little bit though, because you need to know this. You know, you're a senior, you know about prices going up. I'm going to just do a little talk here with you on how prices have gone up, and it's something you should think about. Whether you do with what you do with it's up to you, and then get into it. So it's how we address the potential for, you know, a dissonance, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, good. Thank
Very
you.
good. Well, Deborah, Doug, Hal, excellent job, guys. This has been extremely productive. We got through a lot here. I really appreciate y'all's participation. It's been great. I'm going to take a 2 or 3 minute restroom break. I'm going to come back. We're going to listen to John Booker's call that he did the other day and kind of give you some feedback on his telesales attempt as a way to continue your education in telesales. So sit tight. I'll be right back. And 1 second.